And we are live. Hello, welcome to this week's Q&A. Robert is with me, being the
Hey guys.
moderator. Let's get into this week's questions.
All right. So the first question comes from James, and he says, "Did you ever get discouraged or have negative thoughts while on your journey to become a fitness professional? Deal with it."
A fitness professional. I never actually considered myself a fitness professional. I never gave myself a title. I just created content, helpful content that I put on YouTube and on my blog. And I always credited other people for the ideas that I was sharing because really, I don't think I have contributed anything new to the fitness knowledge. Guys that do that usually are very well educated. They are like Martin Burkian introduced intermittent fasting. That was something completely new. So I always credit intermittent fasting to Martin, or make a study that discovered that short rest periods are inferior to full rest periods. That's again something that they contribute to the community through research. And what I did is I studied what these people were saying, and I made that information easy to understand. I think this is my biggest skill, the fact that I can understand information, I can present it well, and that's pretty much what I was doing. And if I had negative thoughts, no, and I was never discouraged because I always knew that this is just a matter of time. If you do something long enough, you eventually get good at it. And I always knew that in the beginning I was going to be a noob, an amateur in everything related to fitness, video editing, speaking, writing, everything. And if you start with that mindset of I am an amateur and I'm learning, and you always provide people with good information, but you don't take the credit for that information. You always name your source. Then you maintain integrity, and you can do this job even when you're not a professional.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's something I love about this site is that you never claim to be above everybody else. It's not the Radu show, and people, when they follow you, it's kind of like they're with you on the way. And I think that's going to be especially important going into your like recovery journey from the TB, because everybody's going to be right with you on this fitness journey, and it's going to be awesome for your followers. Ready, real quick before I go to the next question. Live Q&A feature seems to be disabled on the.
Really? Okay.
On my thing, so I don't know if people can ask questions or not.
Add apps. Let me see here. I think the Google Hangouts is actually is going to be discontinued on September 12th. So I used something different. It now moves to YouTube Live. So I think that people are going to ask questions live under the video that they see on YouTube. So just a second. Let me share that link with you.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, guys.
Are you emailing it to me or Facebook?
Facebook. Okay, I send it to you now.
All right, just got it.
All right. Can you tell me the next question?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so this one is are you emailing it to me or Facebook?
Facebook.
Okay. It came up on my screen. So this one's a little long, and this is actually a story that I think a lot of people can relate with. They put it onto on the Kino forums, and they wanted to post it in here. This is from Alexander, and he's from Sydney, Australia, and he seems to be in some trouble. I can probably post the whole story in YouTube comments. It's too long to read here, but Basically, I read it. He's he's stuck. He's yo-yoing through the fitness journey. Like he's going to the gym spurts, and then he's just like completely falling off track. And it seems like a lot of it, and nutrition as well. And I feel like he is struggling with some sort of depression. It seems like motivation is very difficult for him. And he's become addicted to his phone. Go and be on his phone for hours on end, and not kind of realize that the time's going by, that he's ironically watching YouTube fitness videos, but he's not actually going, and he's really struggling with that. And basically what he is asking us, mainly you, is he wants advice on how to get unstuck. He said it's his birthday in 60 days, and he'll be entering his 30s. Look and feel this way, and he wants like a kind of a quick unstuck advice. I've yo-yoed through so many fitness stages over the last few years. I just can't seem to make it stick. I can't move from willpower to intrinsic motivation. I'm sick of it taking up my headspace. I deeply desire to have optimum nutrition, health, and fitness to be the cornerstone of an abundant life. Asking for unstuck advice, basically. That's a big one.
It's one of those things where we actually know what the solution is, but we don't do it. I think because we all know that in order to fix that, we just need to do the thing. We just need to pay attention to nutrition, go to the gym, and do this long enough until we get results. But it's one of those things where our paradigm, our habits actually control our behavior, because the part of us that knows is not the part that controls our behavior. Our results are always equal to our self-image, the way we see ourselves in our mind. And it's interesting because I found that people vary a lot in what their motivation is. I, for one, was never someone that lacked the drive to do things. I was always willing to do things, and my only problem was always my only obstacle was always inspiration. The only times I didn't act was when I didn't see why I was doing. I didn't see an end result. But when I saw that, I was always willing to put in the work. So action was never an obstacle for me, and that's probably one of the reasons why I don't understand it well. What I always recommend is that you study the materials of Bob Proctor. This guy, in most of his material, he talks about money, about growing a business, or how to basically become more financially prosperous. But that advice can be applied to anything else. Basically, we all have some sort of like mental programs, like software in a computer that control our actions. Studies show that even though we know how to do better, we don't do it because we just function on autopilot most of the time. About 90 to 95% of our behavior is habitual. We just get up in the morning, we go into a habitual pattern, and we do that without even thinking about it. And we need to find ways to stop doing that, to stop ourselves in our track, to stop that behavioral pattern, and introduce new activities in our life, things that we want to do. So for this question, I would like to talk with you more to identify what the obstacle is, what's the challenge, what's the real challenge here for you, because it can be a number of things. But I'm almost certain that it's a psychological problem. It's a psychological obstacle, and I would try to identify what the cause of that obstacle is. What are your thoughts on this, Robert?
Right. I mean, I agree with that last statement wholeheartedly. So he really seems to be struggling with his phone here. And in the story, he talked about how he was gonna, lock his phone away in a safe, but thought that that was ridiculous. And honestly, I don't really think that that's that ridiculous. I mean, there's function to a phone that you need for a regular everyday life. But one thing that we talked about together that we noticed, Radu, was when we posted those testosterone videos. The one on not doing something got many more views. Avoid these 5 foods than doing something. And that's for people. Avoiding something, not doing something just seems like a much easier task than actually taking action and doing something. So maybe, before taking this full action that seems so daunting to him, as in going in and getting fitness motivation, he should try to remove the bad influences from his life before going on. And I don't know how he plans on doing that in terms of the phone. He could just delete a bunch of apps that that seem harmful. Put it on airplane mode so he doesn't do certain things. I don't know, but and then another thing is that he talks about a long distance relationship with his girlfriend. And I know how much stress that can cause. That is huge. I mean, stress, upped cortisol, and an off-kiltered, endocrine system can just be so detrimental to so many things that we don't even understand. Like, for example, fitness. Like if you have a messed up endocrine system, and that's something we talked about in Testosterone Week, your whole fitness journey falls apart. So I think that what he's really struggling with right now, and something that I've struggled with, and something that a lot of people struggle with, is just really, really high stress causing depression and lack of motivation. So what he needs to do is he needs to remove those stress areas from his life before he takes the huge actions. Because I think that right now he seems really overwhelmed by what he has to do. So if it's easier for him just to cut the negative influences from his life, so it doesn't seem as daunting. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's a first step. And then let's move into a question we got live right here. John, he said, "What do you do to not give up in your goal of getting 8% body fat? Once you accomplish your goals, what do you do next?"
Good question. First of all, I don't see why would you give up on a goal if you want it. Giving up was, I never really understood it, especially when it's something that just comes only, that's only up to you. Getting to 8% body fat, it's something that is 100% up to you, and you just need to be patient. Basically, you just need to keep those small daily disciplines for a long enough time to get to 8% body fat. It's really not difficult. It's just a matter of persistence. And if you want to achieve your goal, then you want that more than you want the distractions, the opposite, the snacks, the high calorie foods, the undisciplined eating behavior. And in my mind, sacrifice is always a positive thing, because sacrifice means giving up something of a lower nature to receive something of a higher nature. If you sacrifice eating a whole pizza at night while watching a movie in order to get to 8% body fat, you basically want to get to 8% body fat more than you want that pizza. So a sacrifice is always positive. You give you give up something of a lower nature to receive something of a higher nature. And not giving up, I think, all comes down to inspiration. You need to be very clear on why you want what you want, and then I don't think that you'll have problems with giving up. You must be very inspired. And one technique to do this is actually, it's pretty incredible. My brother is actually a public speaker here in Romania, and he works with a bunch of people on developing themselves. And one of the techniques that he uses is he has people write 100 reasons for why they want to achieve a certain goal. And what that does, 100 reasons is so difficult. It's so difficult to write 100 reasons for why you want to achieve something. And what you'll notice is that the first reasons that you write are pretty shallow. They are the reasons why you think you want to get there. But actually, what you'll find is that when you get to around 50 or 60, 70 reasons, that is when you start to dig deep into yourself and you discover the true reasons why you want to achieve something. And I think that if you take the time and write 100 reasons for why you want to get to 8% body fat, you will have enough inspiration to diet for a year, because you will you will inevitably discover the true drive, the true reasons, the true reason why you made a decision to get to 8% body fat. And if you always keep that in your mind, I think that you won't have problem with inspiration. And I think there was a second part of that question.
Yeah, it was once you accomplish your goals, what do you do next?
Yeah, once you accomplish your goal, you just set another goal, because it's very interesting. Goals are so elusive. We think that if we set a goal and we achieve that goal, we're going to be so happy once we're there. But you're not. Every goal that I achieved in my life was, okay, I achieved the goal, so now what? And you always need to push yourself further, to set another goal, because true success in my mind is not achieving a certain result, is actually always being always growing, always improving yourself. You know that cliche, everybody knows that success is the way, not the end result. That's true. And always striving for something is the only thing in life that makes sense for me. And you just set a new goal. Once you get 8% body fat, you set a goal, maybe a strength goal, so a lean bulking goal. Once you hit that, then you set maybe a cutting goal again. Maybe you want to have a photo shoot. You always need to have something to look forward to. That's what I found.
Right. I totally agree with what you're saying. So one thought that I had was from reading Dale Carnegie. Just it's a very simple concept that people overlook, is that you will never do anything that you don't want. So if you want 8% body fat, but you're not doing it, then apparently you want, the unhealthy lifestyle. You actually want it more than the 8% body fat, because that's why you're doing it. So I mean, and maybe you don't want to admit it to yourself, but when you say what you want, you need to be really, really honest with yourself. And then when you're really honest with yourself, consistently, then when you finally get to the point where you're like, actually, like, I'm tired of this unhealthy lifestyle, I really want 8% body fat, then you'll do it. Like that's just.
I completely agree. And actually, related to this, I heard a very interesting definition of addiction. It says addiction is not getting enough of what you don't want. Yeah. So it's interesting, because what we want on a conscious level is maybe different. Can be different from the self-image and the paradigms that we have, and those are actually what control our behavior. We can say that we want something, but in our subconscious mind, we actually want something else, the subconscious part of ourselves. And through autosuggestion, through repeating those thoughts that you want, you can actually change that paradigm, and only then your behavior will actually change change to become what you want. Because unless your paradigm, your self-image is the same as your goal, you are always going to be using willpower. Every action that you do towards the goal will feel like something unpleasant, because that differs from what you actually would do on autopilot normally. And you want to have the goal and the self-image aligned, because that way your normal behavior becomes your goal achieving activities.
Right. No, totally agree. Let's go into we've been super into the mind. Spit this one off. Let's go into a fitness question. Joe posted this in the chat, and he also emailed it, so I'll go to that one now. Mm-hmm. So he says, "Hey Radu, what do you think about the lean bulk lifestyle that you talk about with Greg? You talked about with him in an old video, eating at maintenance and going in a surplus when we have social events. Have you tried this?"
Oh yeah, of course. That's what I do right now if I wanted to lean bulk. I think this is great for when you are at the intermediate or advanced level, because then the rate of muscle growth is actually pretty low. Is not rapid, and for this you don't need a high calorie surplus. You just need to have a moderate or a low calorie surplus in order to maximize muscle growth, to permit the maximum muscle growth to occur. So you can actually eat at maintenance or around maintenance on a day-to-day basis, and when your lifestyle demands or makes it easy for you to have a surplus day, you do that, to have a calorie surplus average during the course of a week. Because and this doesn't work very well for beginners, because when you're a beginner, you can gain maybe a pound of muscle a month, maybe 2 pounds per month if you are very skinny. So that means that you must have a big calorie surplus. To gain 2 pounds of muscle per month, you need about maybe 5,000 to 6,000 calorie surplus, and because you also gain some fat with that, and to take into account other energy losses through non-exercise activity thermogenesis and other stuff, you probably need to gain 2 pounds of muscle. You may need maybe an 8 to 9, even 10,000 calorie surplus, depending on the person. And you probably won't achieve that if you only eat in a surplus from time to time. But when you are an intermediate or an advanced lifter and you can gain maybe half a pound of muscle per month, then you don't need that big of a calorie surplus. If you eat maybe 500 calories surplus on the weekend, so Friday and Saturday, and you have 1,000 calorie surplus per week, then if you do that in a month, you have 4,000 calories, and that takes care of that little rate of weight gain that you are looking for, and that will permit the maximum growth to occur.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, if you guys would keep posting questions in the chat, these have been great so far. Keep this going. We'll go into some more email questions. So this is another question. This is about protein. So this is from Josh. What if I didn't eat any protein or not enough protein in a single day? So like 1/3 of protein requirements. What should I do, basically?
I don't think you need to make up for it the next day, unless this happens very often. If you have a low protein day once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks, you don't need to worry about it. Protein, our metabolism doesn't work on a 24-hour cycle like we think. Our body doesn't, we track calories on a 24-hour cycle, but digestion and absorption actually take more than that. I think that food is completely processed in maybe 2 or 3 days, so it takes a while. If you didn't eat enough protein today, you still have protein from the previous day, maybe even the day before that. So you don't really need to concern yourself with something as insignificant as having a lower protein day. However, if this happens often, then the weekly average or the monthly average is affected. And if that is below what is optimal, then of course the rate of muscle growth will be negatively affected. So if you had today a low protein day, maybe 1/3 of your protein intake, that's fine. Tomorrow you can just go to your normal macro setup, maybe eat a little more protein if you really want to, but I don't think it would make a difference, a noticeable difference, not even in very controlled studies. A day is very insignificant.
Okay, very good. Okay, next question. This one comes from East Vaughn. So he asked, he's doing a split of high intensity interval training on some days and then resistance training on other days. He works at 6 days a week, so high volume training.
Okay.
So he asks, would it be better in terms of recovery to do high intensity interval sessions on the same day as resistance training on a full body workout, or should he separate these?
Ideally, you would separate them. Ideally, you do cardio on your rest days. Although, if you do high intensity interval training before your leg workouts, that may actually be inferior to if you did high intensity interval training after your leg workout on the same day. That's what I think, because cardio, I think that you should view it as you are a weightlifter first, and you should always do everything you can to have the most optimal lifting sessions possible. If that means pushing your cardio after the lifting session, that's great, because you don't want anything to hinder your strength. But ideally, for example, if you worked out legs on Wednesday and Thursday was a rest day, you could do high intensity interval training on Thursday. And if you do high intensity interval training maybe 2 or 3 times a week, you could place those sessions as far away from the leg session as you can, because you want you want them to interfere as little as possible with your leg strength.
Okay, great.
Because just something else, they don't really interfere with upper body performance, because usually high intensity interval training involves the legs. You probably can have exactly the same performance for chest, shoulders, arms, even if you do cardio or not.
Okay. Okay, so let's go on. This one's a pretty interesting question. We've never gotten anyone like this before. This one is, when do you think, he said he's just curious about this. When do you think the best age and reason a person should use performance-enhancing drugs?
Okay. I'm really not educated on steroids. I'm not the right person to ask this. I actually have no idea. But I would suspect that you shouldn't take them as a kid when you're growing. Actually, when you're on your puberty, you are almost on a natural steroid cycle. When you're growing as a man, you have very high testosterone levels, because that is when you're developing. That's when you start to grow facial hair. You start to you grow the most in height. Your voice deepens, and I have no idea if that would be a good time to take steroids or not. But in my opinion, I think that not my opinion, from my assumption would be that it would be best to take steroids after you stop developing naturally. That's what I think.
Okay.
Robert, you actually studied hormones more than me. What's your take on this?
Oh boy. Yeah. So there are some situations I think that just testosterone replacement therapy. Oh, that's tough. There are definitely ways to get around using it at all, even in the most extreme situations. Like, for example, Chris from Anabolic Men, he had an extremely extreme situation with that pituitary tumor, right? And then using the TET-Shock stuff actually depleted the tumor to a size, he never got taken out, depleted the tumor to a size where it wasn't affecting him as much, and now he has really high testosterone levels. So in that way, and he looks like he went from 165 and 6'4" to 220 and 6'5" in 4 years or so. So that's basically effects of performance enhancing drugs right there, and it was all done naturally. So even in the most extreme situations, I don't think that they are necessary. In terms of the best age and reason, I would say, if you're just curious, I guess I'd say that it would be in older age when testosterone kind of depletes with age, and then geez.
Oh,
if
yeah.
You really wanted.
Oh yeah. So
yeah, go ahead.
You're talking about taking having testosterone replacement therapy when you're old, when basically your body stops producing its own naturally.
Yeah, right. So I suppose that if you had to do it, I don't think it's necessary at all. But if you had to do it, the best age would be older, probably in your late 30s, when it really stops. And then if you want to do some sort of competition or something, like I don't really know what you'd really want to do that you'd need that much testosterone in your system that old. But that's probably the best.
The effect of performance enhancing drugs can be questioned. I mean, studies clearly show that you gain muscle even without training when you're on artificial testosterone. Yeah.
Right. And testosterone replacement therapy, it stops production of natural testosterone anyway. So once you stop, which you will, even if you start when you're late in life, it's going to stop production. And then, then you're kind of screwed later on. So I don't recommend it at all, but you know, I guess if I had to pick a best age and reason, it'd be that. Okay, let's go on to another question in the comments here. It's from Leo again. This is a pretty good one. I'm doing the Greek God program. My legs are very skinny. I should do squat instead of pistol or Bulgarian squats.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's what I did actually. I started the Greek God program when my legs were very skinny as well. That was the first real training program that I used. And what I did is I was using the AB split, the mega workouts, and I did squats. Actually, I did the standard routine before the mega workouts, and I did the 3-day split for a while. But always I was doing classic barbell squats and not pistol squats or Bulgarian split squats because I actually wanted leg size. And if you take your squat to 5 reps with 2 times body weight or maybe even higher, then you can be sure that you are going to have well-developed legs. Some people though, most guys gain strength and size easily in their legs, but some people are actually have stubborn legs. It's less common, but it happens. In that situation, you may have to do more volume than just squats. You maybe need to throw in there a leg press or maybe some single leg exercises or maybe some leg extensions and leg curls.
Yeah, I agree. I've dabbled in the Greek God program. I think that was probably my biggest issue with it, was that my legs weren't really developing. So I agree. I did switch it out for squat. Okay, let's go into another email question. This is back to mind stuff. Is there a way to speed up the process of creating and breaking habits?
Good question.
Let's do creating first, I'd say.
Yes. One big, very, very big rule that I think you should follow is to not change too many habits at once. A lot of people, especially in fitness, this is something that I commonly see. One guy there was a colleague with me in college. He decided to get in shape, and his normal habits were these. He was eating fast food. Almost all his meals were fast food. So things like pizza, burgers, random things that he would buy when he went out. He drank a lot of beer, and he was smoking. He always slept in. He was going to bed late. He was watching TV series a lot. So he had a very unhealthy and a lazy lifestyle, basically. And then he decided to get in shape. And what he did, he completely revolutionized his life. He started going to the gym 6 days a week. He did cardio, I think 3 days, 1 hour each, and then the other days he was doing a strength workout. So 6 days a week of working out. He gave up smoking. He gave up coffee. He started eating only vegetables, and he gave up fast food. He started going to bed early. He woke up early. He started coming to school more often, and you can see how many habits this guy changed at once. And as from the beginning, I knew he's not gonna stick with it. He can't possibly do that because you change so many things at once. And sure enough, he lost, I think, about 10 pounds or so. But then one day he snapped right back to his old habits. He started smoking again. He went back to drinking, to eating unhealthy, and he never got anywhere. And I think the main reason for that is because he changed too many habits at once. You need to take it easy. Take it, do the fundamentals first, and focus on improving your routine, the details as you go. And you always need to, when you create a new habit, you always need to replace something else, because we as humans, all our time is filled in a day. We don't have time where we don't do anything. Even when we sit and we seem like we're doing nothing, we're thinking about something. And that is, thinking is actually doing something. You're thinking about something. If you wanted to think about something else, you would have to replace the things that you think about currently. So basically, when you create a new habit, you have to replace another one. And it's very difficult to change a lot of them at once. Take a few, the biggest habits that you want to change, and focus on those, and change the remaining ones, the smaller habits, as you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that a good tactic, so I'll tell you one that I do. So I really wanted to integrate like regular study into my routine, right? So when we signed up for the Bob Proctor 6 Minute Success thing, I really wanted to fit that in a daily thing every day. And so what I did was I thought of the habits that I do have currently. And the first thing I thought of was like, brushing my teeth, taking a shower in the morning. And that's like my morning daily routine. So what I did was I took that habit that I wanted to do, and I didn't put it at the beginning of the habits. I didn't put it at the end of it. I put it right in the middle. So right before I brush my teeth, for example, I'll watch, the 6 Minute Success video, and putting it right in the middle of it, because if you're done with your daily habits and at the end you're supposed to add one, then it's just like, it's a little tougher, because you're done with everything else, you don't have to do it. So I found that putting stuff right in the middle of your daily routine instead of adding on either end did really help. Also, in terms of breaking habits, I think that you touched on it really well right there. Breaking a habit, the best way to break a habit is to introduce a new one in its place. Because you don't want to break a habit and then create this empty vacuum where anything could fill it up. Another bad habit could fill it up. I mean, that old bad habit could easily come back. You need to stay busy, and you need to fill it with a really positive habit. I strongly encourage adding and breaking one at the same time. I think that's the best way to do it for sure.
I completely agree. Yeah. And I think Carlyle said that the key to change is not in fighting the old, but it's in nourishing the new. A lot of people, when they want to change habits, they think elimination instead of replacement. They say, I want to stop smoking. But when you say, I want to stop smoking, what you actually see in your mind is you see yourself smoking and you see a big red X on top of it. But what you see in your mind is you smoking, and that is what you will do, because we think in pictures and we execute the images that we see in our mind. But the better way to do it is to replace that habit. Is to, instead of thinking about I want to stop smoking, find something else. Tell yourself the reason why you want to stop smoking. I don't know what that is in your case, but you always need to focus on the positive. What you will do with the time that you'll have after you stop smoking, because smoking takes time. It takes maybe an hour a day to smoke all those cigarettes. What will you do with that extra hour? And see that in your mind. Nourish the new, don't fight the old.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We got another one in the comments. Oh, okay. Are you considering making a lean bulking program yourself?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, and I mean, good news for Think You Lift Pro members. We've talked about this. We do plan on Redu's going to write a lean bulking program in the near future. We're planning it out, and it will be released to Think You Lift Pro members. We're planning on doing it well before the general public. So that's a little bonus for you guys soon.
And for you, it'll be free.
Yeah, it'll be completely free, obviously, with your membership. But it'll be before everybody else, and we'll welcome your feedback on it, of course. Okay. This is kind of a cool question that we got through email, and I think a lot of people will benefit from it. It's about studies. So I noticed you always try to include your proof with studies, and I don't know how to read a study. It just looks like a bunch of nonsense. Could you please explain what a study should have? So here's my questions about studies. How do you know how to read them? Is there a way of getting better at understanding these studies? So we'll stop there.
Yeah, I actually I don't actually read the studies myself. I link to those studies because the people that I follow and that I know that are very good at interpreting research, they give that study as proof for the statements that they're doing. To be honest, I only read the abstracts. I look at the conclusion, and that's what I do. And I know it's not. I'm not a very knowledgeable guy in terms of interpreting research. I just follow what I think are the best people in the industry. Guys like Alan Aragon has that Alan Aragon Research Review. That is amazing. He studies, he reviews every study on nutrition that comes out. And I read that. I read Alan's interpretation of the study. But obviously, I can't link to Alan's review because that is a paid service. And I link to the actual study. But because I know that if people were looking for proof for what I was saying, that study would be that proof. I haven't studied the system for how you can determine if a study is well done or not. But I know that the sample size needs to be pretty high. The methodologies need to be well thought of. For example, many studies on nutrition have a very big what's it called drawback. When people self-report their calorie intake, and they are very bad at that, so you always need to take conclusions with a grain of salt. But anyway, to answer your question, I really don't know. What I do is what I told you is I follow the people that interpret research, and I know they're very good at it, and I actually take their conclusions instead of trying to understand the research myself.
Okay. Yeah. The other part he had, I don't know if you know the answer to this. He asked if there is any telltale ways to know that a study is complete. BS.
I don't know. One thing that we need to look at is who funded the study, because a lot of, for example, many cereal companies or companies that sell candy and stuff like that, their studies will always be, not always, most of the time will be biased to help them to make their product sell better. And you need to always keep that in mind, that studies are not always 100% unbiased.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so we're moving into the home stretch here. In about 10 or so minutes, we will start talking about our business and the future for that. And there's an email question about that already. But if you guys have any more questions about that when we start talking about that, throw those in there. So this is another fitness question. So when I first started cutting, how should I introduce cardio into my cut? I'm actually quite short, so as you can imagine, my calories are pretty low. So how do I know when to put cardio into action?
Good question. As a default, I recommend you create about 70 to 80% of your calorie deficit through your diet and 20 to 30% of the deficit through cardio. And my preferred method of creating the initial calorie deficit is to create a 20% deficit to your diet and another 5% of maintenance to burn through cardio. And you can easily do that by calculating your cutting macros so that they are 20% below maintenance, and to walk maybe 30 minutes more every day, because then 30 to 40 minutes every day. With that additional calorie expenditure, you actually create a 25% total deficit. So you are actually doing an aggressive cut. And when I decide to increase cardio is when I see that the initial calorie deficit that I created no longer produces the same rate of fat loss, because your metabolism adapts. You start to burn fewer calories as your body weight goes down. Leptin goes down, your metabolic rate decreases a little. So you have to steadily decrease your calories as you're getting leaner. And there comes a point where you no longer lose weight, or the rate of fat loss decreases significantly with the same calories that you ate before. And then you have to make a decision if you want to decrease your food intake or increase your calorie expenditure, because both of them would increase that calorie deficit and restart fat loss. And I usually look at how little that person is usually is already at. So they're eating. My English is pretty bad tonight. So if I see that someone is at 1,500 calories, I wouldn't want to decrease their food intake even further. I would actually recommend that they do more cardio instead.
So we got this question, and people might be interested in hearing this. So James wants to know, where do you see yourself and your business in 5 years?
5 years is a long time in my mind. I don't know. I really don't know. Actually, I have goals that I want to achieve, but I don't really have a vision for how those goals are going to materialize. I just know that they will, and I allow myself to take different paths, but I know the destination. And I think that's a great way to have goals. You just need to know where you want to get, but you don't really have to know the way you're going to get there. And the way is what will create you. Your experiences and the skills that you accumulate on the way will determine the person that you will become. But at this point in my life, I'm not sure what I want to do in terms of my daily activities. So I just have a goal that I'm going towards, but I allow flexibility on the way.
Right. I think it was a fantastic way of looking at it, actually. Because when you look ahead and you say, like, where are you going to see, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You're going to take your lens that you have right now, and you're going to look ahead 5 years, and you're going to project your current self out there. But I think that I can speak for everyone, the two of us and everyone listening, that 5 years ago we were all pretty different people.
Oh yeah.
If you've progressed a lot and achieved goals on the way. So I think a way of I like that, a way of looking at it is to where do you want to progress to? Like, what are your goals here? Don't project yourself there, because then that might actually restrict changing yourself if you keep seeing, like, if you vision, you know what I mean. Like, if you project your current self over there, then you might run into some troubles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's actually through these questions. We had so many, but I think that is all of them. But we can. So I mean, it's about right on time. We can start talking about what we plan on doing, our business and stuff. And if you guys have any more questions, throw in the comments. We'll answer them right away. So what are we doing right now, Radu? We want to talk about.
Our biggest news right now is the app. The app, the lifting app is almost complete. We actually have a call with our app developer in 10 to 15 minutes, and he actually is now putting the finishing touches on it. I have it on my phone. Robert has it on his phone too. You can have customizable routines. There are also default routines in there made by me, so you can actually follow a routine already inside the app, and that is set up with the philosophy in ShredSmart. And this app is going to be pretty cool. It's our next big project, and we also want to have a virtual coach in there, so the app can detect what you're doing in the gym and with your nutrition, based on the data that you input, and it can give you tips on the way to help you achieve the best results. It can detect if you're plateaued, and it will give you a tip on how to break that plateau, because it knows what you've been doing. That is, if you actually input your data regularly. And it can also detect if you are not losing weight or not gaining weight at the ideal rate, and it can tell you, hey, eat more, eat less, and other small things like that. And I think it will be a very useful service for especially beginners, and pretty much anyone that wants to track their fitness progress properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and it will be free. We're releasing it for free, and it will, as far as we know, has the most functionality of any free fitness app on the App Store. So it's a big gift, and we're happy to give it to you guys. Other than that, we are yeah. So we were just talking about this before we got on the call. Our next big moves, we're really going to focus on sprucing up and building up Think Pro. So we are going to add. We're planning on making Think It Lift Pro exclusive content. We have plans to add a forum eventually for Think It Lift Pro only, and pretty soon we're planning on recording one of these live Q&As that we would like to just absolutely kill it. And then, if we have great questions from you guys, we're going to post it on for everyone to see, not just you guys, to get a really, really good live event going. So those are our plans for that. And I think that's basically what we're working on right now. Other than getting back to regular content pace after a big testosterone week, and then me making my first video probably coming next month or so. So those are the plans. But with that, I think that is everything that we have. Mm-hmm. So any last things to say, Radu?
If you guys don't have any more questions, I think we're gonna wrap it up here for this week. And we actually plan on doing these Q&As with a theme. I think that would be a much better idea, because people would look forward to them, because they would address a certain topic. And we can also post these Q&As to iTunes as podcasts, so you can listen to them while you're doing whatever, if you miss them. And of course, they are going to be available for everyone, but only you will be able to post the questions and actually interact with us during these talks. And I think this is the real value with these live Q&As. My goal is to look at your individual specific case, your specific question, and give you a personalized answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. We really want to improve the value for the Think It Lift Pro members and give them much as we possibly can. Look forward to that. Okay, and with that, I think that we don't have any more questions. Nope. So it was great talking with you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, and
okay. One more question. Yeah, on email. He says, cool. Hello, Radu. My name is Arsh. I am a 22-year-old female. I am in a predicament currently with my diet. I was 48 kilograms last year, and I am currently 52. I began eating more protein and just more food in general, as well as doing the strength training exercises from the Kinobody Goddess program last year to gain some weight. However, I am still a university student. My diet was pretty irregular sometimes. My waist at 48 kilograms was around 24 inches, as opposed to now, which is 26 inches. Aesthetically, I prefer the way I look much more when I'm around 40 to 49 kilograms, especially as my upper body is quite slimmer toned then. Ideally, I do aim for the Goddess physique from the Kinobody program. How do I go about achieving this from here onwards? Also, just for reference, I'm 5'6". Thanks, Arsh. I think it all comes down to losing a few kilograms, and that's easy to do. The Goddess program has a great nutrition protocol that involves intermittent fasting and a calorie deficit. And I know that the rate of fat loss is a bit lower for women, because you have less body weight overall, and it's harder to create a calorie deficit. But you should be able to lose about maybe 0.3 to 0.5 kilograms per week with a 500 to 600 calorie deficit daily. And if you keep that for about maybe 2 months or maybe even 6 weeks, I think you can go back to 48, 49 kilograms. And then it's true, your upper body will be slimmer, will be more toned, and you will probably have the aesthetic that you're looking for.
Cool.
All right. Okay, and with this, we end this week's Q&A. We will be seeing you next week. See ya.